Thanks for that. So my name's Jacob. I am the owner and operator of Mother Flushers Plumbing. We take care of all of the high desert areas as well as down the hill, Monte Vista, Ontario, Rancho communities. We like to take care of everybody, and we're the utmost of professional services, and we're here for all your plumbing needs. Like to thank Monte Vista Water District for the opportunity to help teach this class to their community and their customers. And we're going to talk a little bit today about some of the items I have here on my desk, which some of these items are also included in the kits that you can pick up from Monte Vista Water District. And with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. So right here, I have a toilet flapper. These are what's located most commonly in some, but not all, of your toilets. If you open up your toilet tank lids, you'll notice you'll have what's called a flush valve. The flush valve is going to have this flapper located right on the bottom with this chain attachment connected to your handle. When you pull your handle to flush, this pulls up, flapper opens, water goes down the toilet and creates the flush, and then closes slowly to create a seal that helps fill the tank back up with water. Well, the point of this class is going to be identifying water leaks and water detection, and to help conserve water. Obviously, we want to make sure that the environment's healthy, and for the future we can use, reduce, and recycle as much water as possible. So we don't want to be wasting water and having it flowing through constantly. Also helps you with your bills. A lot of you may notice you have higher than normal bills in your home, and one of the biggest identifiers is going to be your toilets. So we want to make sure we can help you guys out and see if you can identify them as fast as possible. And if you do need assistance, you can always call us, and we'll be more than happy to come out, take a look at it, and make the corrective issues for you. But today we're going to help you identify them and help you make these repairs yourself. So going along with that, this toilet flapper, you'll notice if your toilet's been sitting for a long time, they can start to get corroded. They'll get pretty old, start to fall apart, get some discoloration on them, and over time you'll actually have a constant flow of water flowing through the toilet. So it won't create a proper seal. You'll start getting water seepages that just start flowing through, and you'll start seeing, if you look inside your toilet bowl, get water circling around a little bit, and you'll hear it as well. So constant sound going through. That means that water's constantly flowing through the angle stop, flowing through the supply line, flowing through your water meter. To prevent that, it's always recommended that you replace these. And you can always do an inspection, and I recommend to replace them at least once a year. Most people don't know that. But again, this is going to be a 2-inch toilet flapper. This might not be in every single toilet that you have, but this is also the most commonly used one. So you may have a 3-inch, 4-inch, different size available. You can always get them at your local supply house, whichever that may be, Lowe's, Home Depot, Ace Hardware, whatever's closest to you. They do service, and they do carry most toilet flappers. And going along with that, those do come along in the kit that's provided to Monte Vista Water District. So once you pick those up, you'll receive one of these for free. Along with that, we have our fill valve. Now, our fill valve is the main part of your toilet that controls the water flow that enters it. So not every toilet you have may look like this, or you may not have one of these in there. You may have the older style, which is a ball and cock, which has a shaft and a giant float, and the float will regulate what allows the water to enter the tank. Those can be replaced with this more universal system, or you may have something that looks similar to this already. These can be replaced, and they do go bad fairly often, which can cause a leak in your tank that creates it again to constantly fill. So you have this float right here. It's plastic and hollow. So when the water tank starts to flow and water starts to rise, this will fill up and shut the valve. These can get old, brittle, and fail and fill with water, not allowing your tank to fill fully and restricting your flush, and also creating constant flow of water. So you want to make sure that you can open your tank on your toilet lid and inspect that. You want to make sure that these are flowing and that they're filling correctly and at a steady rate. Also, if you have any water going, if you notice any leakage on your toilet tank, you want to make sure you can inspect that these are tightened securely to the bottom of the tank. They have a wing nut that's going to be located in the bottom of the toilet that secures in the bottom, like so. And secures to the bottom of the tank. These can get loose over time and create a seepage of all the water that's in your tank to leak from the bottom. And of course, we want to avoid that because that could be detrimental, and obviously water bills are costly, and it can also create damage to your home over time, which we want to avoid. May lead to you needing a new toilet, new fill valve, but our company does offer services for toilet replacements, and we also service inside the tank. So if you're not necessarily in the market for a new toilet, we can come by and upfit your toilet with all new universal systems that create longer lasting lifespan of your toilet and are more conservative of water. Do we have any questions so far? No? We're all good here. Everyone keeping up? Everyone can hear me okay? Awesome. Cool deal. So this is going to be your gasket that's on the bottom of your fill valve. Your gasket's easily removable, and you want to make sure that your gasket's in good shape. Just like your toilet flapper, these can also go bad, get brittle, start to leak by, go through, and you want to make sure that these are in good shape. Otherwise, like I said, you can create some major damage to your home or cause an expensive leak. So you just shove that up all the way. That sits right on the bottom inside of your toilet. Fairly easy to operate, but again, if you guys need help, we're always ready to assist. Another part of the fill valve, it actually has a locking mechanism right here, which is this plastic ring. This plastic ring can be pulled up, and if you notice that this might be too low or too high, say if you install one and you can't close your tank, they can actually be adjusted and pulled out and pulled completely apart. No, it's not broken. It's got an O-ring right here up top that you want to make sure that you can put in fairly easily, and you can make your adjustments. And to lock it in place, all you do is put the ring right back down where it goes. And it's fairly long. Another part of the fill valve, we actually have this little lever right here that has a plus and minus sign on it. And what that does is help regulate the level of water in the tank. So if you notice that you've adjusted your fill valve and your float is working correctly, but the water in your tank is filling too high and overflowing into your flush valve, you should have a flush. It's an overflow point. So you have a circle and all the water is draining into there. That way it's protecting the water from overflowing over the top of the tank. You want to make sure that water is not constantly flowing into there. So then if it is, you have a constant flow of water. The tank will never fill. You'll have a constant water leak flowing through the toilet. So that's what, again, helping the level of this goes. This is a micro adjustment. So when you're twisting this clockwise and counterclockwise, it's a micro adjustment to the water of the tank. So when you get kind of close, you can make these micro adjustments to lower it just below that water line. And then you want to make sure that it's flowing smoothly. And by smoothly, you have a constant flow of water. If you hear any spurts or anything like that, you may have a clog in this, and it may be time for a replacement. Like I said, these can go bad. They're plastic components. They do get brittle in the water, and sitting in the water over time will corrode anything. We do recommend for any fixtures in the home, I personally recommend that every home in California has a water softening system. And what that'll help with is protecting fixtures like this and fixtures like this by softening the water and not letting it be so corrosive to destroy these types of things. And this goes along with your faucets, kitchen faucets, shower valves, kitchen valves, sprinklers, pretty much everything in the entire home. All your piping, slab leaks are a big deal. Water softeners definitely help out with that. Anybody have any questions regarding our fill valve or our toilet flapper? Not sure if we're answering questions now or we're saving those till later. But if you have
no question.
Okay, cool. So I just want to make sure everyone's keeping along with these. We're going to keep talking about the fill valve a little bit because this is a big part of the toilet. And this is one of the main things that controls, like I said, the flow that comes in. So along with that flush valve and the fill valve, you'll have this line right here. This line's going to connect to this top port, like so. And then you should have a connection like this on that end there. And that actually slides right onto your flush valve to help pour water into the toilet tank to help it fill. Now, like I said, not all of you might not have this system. You might have the older style, which is okay, as long as it's working correctly. If it's not, it can always be retrofitted to this style component, and this can be easily obtained anywhere at your local hardware stores as well. And you want to make sure that that's taken care of, because that's a big part of the flushometer and could always increase risks of leakage, and which is the whole point of this class. You want to try and avoid that as much as possible. Another thing we're going to talk about, back to the toilet flapper, the water tank level will actually affect the flapper component by the weight of the system. So however much water you have in that tank is going to affect how far that opens up and then closes. So you'll, like, again, you want to make sure your water level is sitting right under the line. You should have an indicator line that says water line stops here, or water line, or just line, any variation of that sort, or even just a line without any words on it. It'll have that indicator on there. And if it doesn't, by any chance got rubbed off or anything like that, as long as you make sure the water's not overflowing into the center port, you should be good to go. Now we'll move on to the next part of the toilet. We have here our supply line, which a lot of you may recognize. It comes out of your wall and connects to the bottom of your toilet like so. And if you're curious about it, the part that it connects to is actually this part inside the toilet. This will connect right here to the bottom of that. Like so. And then connect to your shutoff. And this is actually inside of your toilet at the time. This will be your shutoff from the wall. Now, this supply line right here is a 20-inch, 7/8 by 3-inch composition valve. This connecting part is universal to pretty much every toilet that isn't, I'd say, before the year 2000. So you always want to check and make sure you have your gasket in there. There's a gasket sitting right in there. If you're replacing this and you don't have that gasket in there, it will leak severely. And if you're always having the problem where you want to make sure it's not leaking or anything like that, you want to make sure that gasket's in there. And when this is installed, it's hand tight. There's no need to put any tools on this or anything. As long as you can get a good, nice, tight seal on there, you should be good to go. Now, the part that we don't recommend really messing with if you're kind of newer and inexperienced with plumbing is going to be the angle stop, which is the shut off to the toilet. Looks something like this. I have a newer one here. Comes out of your wall, looks like that. Now, the ones I have here are actually quarter turn valves, but most of you might have continuous angle stops. Now these, every time we replace a toilet or do any work inside of a toilet, there's always a chance that these will fail. And reason being is because they're fairly rarely exercised. And by exercised, I mean turned on and off, and make sure that they're working correctly. So the moment that they've been corroded over time and sitting there for years without being turned on or off, they will fail. There are plastic components inside, even though they're metal on the outside, they're plastic inside and rubber based, and they will fail over time. So if you do have an emergency with your toilet, something breaks, something collapses, this could fail you. So you want to make sure that you keep up to date on that, and may even go home today, or I know you're already at home or wherever you're at using your computer. You want to make sure you try all your toilets and try your angle stops. Make sure the water shuts off. And the way you can check that is by shutting it off all the way, counterclockwise, turning it clockwise as far as it can go, flushing your toilet, and seeing if it fills back up. If it fills back up, this has failed you, and you want to try and get this replaced. These I don't recommend replacing yourself. They can require you to turn the water off at your meter, and could be pretty difficult to replace. Always contact a professional if you're not sure. Always contact somebody that you know is going to help you fix this. That way you don't cause any damage to your home. This is connected to your main water source and has lots of pressure behind it. These ferrules, which is actually this nut right here, is connected to the pipe that comes into your wall, followed by this gold ring. This gold ring is actually a compression nut. Goes right inside on that pipe and is tightened on here. Super tight and compresses into the pipe. And that's all it is. But it's not that simple when the angle stop's been sitting there for years and years and years. Trust me, they are difficult to remove and they can be very detrimental to the home's health if they're not installed correctly. So we want to make sure that these are taken care of. This is what your supply line is connected to for your toilet. This is going to be a 1/2 inch by 3/8 angle stop. If you have older angle stops, you may have a 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch to 1/2 inch compression. And those are the older style. More updated lines, every time we come in and we update one, we're always putting in these 1/2 inch by 3/8 line. It's just the most updated thing going on right now. Everything's converting over. Even when you install your sink faucets and things of that sort, if you get a new faucet, your angle stops will have to be replaced to 1/2 inch to by 3/8 because most of the new faucets that come down with the fancy pull down mechanisms come with supply lines already attached. And those supply lines are 3/8 fittings, which you won't have. You'll have your 1/2 inch if it's an older home or the angle stops have never been replaced. So you may have to contact a professional and see if you can get these replaced on the bottom of your faucet sinks. Have any questions about the supply lines or angle stops?
Nothing in the chat.
Okay, cool. And again, with this, I wanted to make sure that I didn't miss anything. I do have some Teflon tape here. Any of these threaded lines, which is going to be like this threaded line that goes into the supply line, or the threads that are on the bottom of the fill valve, they don't need any tape or dope on there. And by dope, I mean pipe dope, which is a sealant that we use it's a sealing compound that we use to help seal and protect from leaks and help us thread on easier. These types of threads don't need any of that. Reason being is because of the gaskets. So this gasket right here, the gasket on the bottom of the supply line, the gasket on this side, anything that has a gasket on it typically doesn't need any type of sealant on there because your seal is being made from the gasket and not from the threads. So again, if you see me installing any of these and we're not using any sealants, they shouldn't need any. Like so. Actually more like that. All right, so moving on with that, if you do need to, by any chance, replace your angle stop and you want to attempt to make it yourself, couple notes. I know that some of you may have your shutoff and your pressure regulator. Some of you may know where that is. It could be different from house to house. So yours may be in the garage. It may be in a box sitting outside in your front yard. It may be in your backyard. It may be in the meter box out in the city side. They vary all the time. So contact your local professional if you're not sure where your shutoff is for your home. I think it's an emergency situation that you would need to know where that is. In case you do burst a line, toilet breaks, water heater fails, you want to know where your water shutoff is. You want to be able to get to that and be able and have it accessible at all times. That way you can grab it, shut it off. And again, just like the angle stops, you want to make sure you exercise that. That way when you do need to use it, it's ready to work for you. If it hasn't been used or touched in years and years and years, they do freeze up, they do stall, and it may fail you in a time that you need it. So make sure that you know where that's at and that you can find it and make sure that it works. Well, leading up with that, our meter box, everybody has a meter box sitting outside that Mountain Vista, the water district will have our meter box, and it'll be every water district. I want to be pretty vague on that because I don't know who's joining. So every water district will have a meter box. The meter box will have your meter in it, a city shutoff, and sometimes a customer shutoff. We want to make it pretty clear that Your customer shutoff is going to be anything past the meter. So your meter's flowing through, and it's going to flow to something that looks like this. You may not have this exact setup in there. You may have the older style, which is a gate valve. It looks like a spinning wheel that you can shut off left and right. This is the newer style. Shut off. It's going to have an anti-seize handle on here that connects underground. Typically, on the city side, we try to advise customers not to mess with that side. And reason being is because if that fails, there's no way to shut off the water to the home, and it'll be very detrimental for the infrastructure of the city. So say if that does fail, we'd have to come in and shut off the whole block, you know, and then now your toilet leak is causing your whole street to have a water outage. We wanted to try and avoid that as much as possible. So that's why it's very important that you know where the customer side shutoff is in your home. And again, it could be in the meter box, or it could be in your garage, could be in the front, could be buried out in the yard somewhere. If that's the case, you know, contact your local professional again so we can come out, identify if you need one installed, and we can take care of that for you. Helping you identify a leak. If you have a leak in your home, or you suspect a leak in your home and you're not entirely sure, you're able to go out to your meter box, and depending on the meter, all meters are different. There's plenty of meter companies out there. If you may have some dirt on there, you may want to clean it off a little bit and get a good read on there. There's actually an indicator on the meter. So you'll have your wheel, and then you'll have a separate smaller wheel, maybe a red, blue, black, maybe a triangle, maybe a circle, square, come in all shapes and sizes depending on the meter company. The smaller one is actually a leak indicator. And if you notice any kind of movement on your meter, if it's not a digital meter, you have a leak, or water's flowing in your home. And a leak could be anything. If you have swamp coolers running in your home, that's constantly running water. And your leak indicator will show that. And it's a good way to test it. If you don't suspect a leak in your home, you can always shut off your swamp cooler. And if the leak indicator stops moving, there you go. So you want to make sure if nothing else is running and the leak indicator is spinning, then you definitely have a problem. And if you don't know where that leak is, contact your local professional to help you try and locate that and find it as quickly as possible. Could end up being something that's very detrimental and could be a lot worse later down the road. Leaks are definitely something you want to keep an eye on, and you want to take care of as soon as possible.
Hey, Jacob, we do have a question.
Sure.
I think it's actually a two-part question. Where is the leak indicator, and is the pressure valve something separate than the water shutoff?
Good questions. So your leak indicator will vary from meter to meter. Once you open up your meter box, on the face of the meter itself, when you're looking straight down at it, you may have some dirt on there. You may have a lid that you have to lift open to open it up. You may even have a digital meter. If you have a digital meter, it should cycle through a flow cycle, and it'll show you if there's flow on there or not. It'll say something like FL and then a number. If it's reading 0, that's good, no leak. If you have more of the analog style meter, you'll have your one big arrow that flows when you're running water, and then you'll have a smaller indicator that's going to be either on the right or left side or bottom corner of the meter face that's going to be spinning anytime that there's a leak. And it's going to be spinning pretty rapidly. Obviously, the slower it's spinning, the smaller the leak is, but any movement is going to be an indication that you have a leak, and you want to keep an eye out for it. And that's going to be located inside of your meter box out on the city side. Your pressure regulator is separate than your water shutoff. But typically, when you have a pressure regulator, your water shutoff isn't too far behind it. When we come in and install new pressure regulator systems, we always replace the shutoff, which is either before or after it, normally within a foot of each other. So your pressure regulator is another separate entity that what it does is obviously regulate your pressure. So you'll have your pressure, let's say, anywhere between 100 and 150 psi coming from the street. You want to make sure that your pressure regulator is in operating order, or you can have major damage done to your pipes inside the home. And those are a little bit more difficult to find out if they're working or not, because just by looking at it, if it's not leaking, then it looks good. but actually internally it's building up debris. And that's debris flowing through the pipe. They could be anywhere from rocks or calcium buildup or any of the sort. Anything that's not water flowing through that will be caught in the pressure regulator and can destroy it internally. And they do need to be replaced sometimes fairly often. And a lot of people don't know that as well. So if you know where your pressure regulator is, call a professional out, have it get checked out. And that goes along with your shutoff valve. Your shutoff valve can also build up that corrosion as well, but they are two separate entities. And your pressure regulator, if you do buy one that from your local hardware store and try and replace it yourself, they do come preset at 55 PSI. I typically recommend that you keep it anywhere between 50 and 75 PSI, no higher than 85. Reason being is because your pipes inside your house will start to degrade over time from the pressure that's too high. Also your fixtures. If you notice any kind of banging in the walls when you shut off your shower, shut off any fixtures, shut off any faucets, if your toilet makes a loud noise, you could have an overpressurage system. And that would mean that your pressure regulator has failed. And you want to make sure that that can get checked out. Hopefully that answered your question. If it didn't, please let me know. We can address that as well.
I think it did. She said thank you. And
Awesome.
I also shared a page from our website that gives you a good visual of what your meter looks like, so that might help explain what Jacob was just sharing.
Definitely. Thank you. Yeah, I don't have a meter here to show you, but if I did, I'd definitely be pointing out that face for you so you can get a better look at it and find out what I'm talking about. But if they can share that with you, that'd be great. That way they can look at it firsthand. Again, you can walk out to the street too, open up your meter box, take a look inside. Always, if you're opening up the meter box, from personal experience, watch out for critters. They like that dark, wet space in there. I've opened it up plenty of times, don't want to scare anybody, but definitely do your due diligence. Make sure you're not putting your bare hands inside the box, and there's all kinds of bugs in there and stuff, and wildlife, they like that. Make sure you're careful when you're opening that stuff, and everything inside of that's pretty delicate. So even the meter itself is delicate. It can't take too much damage or anything like that. We don't want to do that. So we just want to be real careful, gentle, wipe off the dirt gently, and take a look at it. That's all it really needs. No maintenance is typically required on the meters. They take care of themselves. The city they'll normally take care of it if they know that there's going to be any issues with it. They'll do that on their monthly readings, of course. One thing I want to go over, also as part of your kit, you got a little bit of a gasket repair kit. It's a general, it may not work for some of you, it may work for some of you, but it's going to be a general universal gasket repair kit. So if you notice you have a faucet or the likes that's kind of leaking somewhere, and if you're brave enough and you want to take it apart and find out that you may have something that looks like it can be easily replaced, maybe a gasket's failed, they are rubber or plastic, and they do go bad, brittle. I have a little bit more intricate of a kit here. It's also universal. It's got a lot of different companies that it takes care of, such as Delta, Moen, Price Fister, anything like that. Fairly easily, you could pull off one of the O-rings like this, and all it would take is for you to slide it over, right over whatever it goes. My kit here actually has several different sizes. Yours does as well. If you pick them up, there are the kits that are included from Monte Vista Water District. There you should have a universal kit there that I think it's about 15 different gaskets. So that could be anywhere from your toilet traps, under the sink traps, wire nuts, or your O-ring sets. Not really much to touch up on there. Keep them greased up. You can wet them a little bit if you need to stick them on there. Real quick, I want to go over, this is a brass nipple, and it has threads on it. Anytime that you're going to be using threads that don't have a gasket on it, such as our fill valve, you want to throw Teflon tape on it, which is provided in the kit also. With that said, there is a specific way to wrap your threads with Teflon tape. When you stretch that out, the way I've always taught it is if you're looking at the thread, the tape's going to go on and counterclockwise. So that's where you're going to hold it right here. You're going to hold your tape counterclockwise. And clockwise, you're going to thread it. And you want to go around about 7 times and stay fairly close to the edge. And then it's a simple tear off. And we're going to do that again on the other side. If you mess that up, no worries. It comes off fairly easily. Make a little bit of a mess there. So one more time, we're going to put that on, and we're going to hold it, your finger right there, and move clockwise around the thread. And it's not an exact number, but about 6 to 7 times. As long as you think you got a good seal on there. And we get the thread. And that threads right in. And this is not hand tight. You do want to get some tools on that and definitely tighten that up as much as possible to prevent any leakages. So, but for demonstration's sake, hand tight, that way I can remove it and show you again if you need to or need be. If I tighten it too tight, then I'll never get that thing off. I got some strong muscles here. So another part of your kit is going to be this flow device right here. It's called an aerator. And your aerators can get clogged up over time as well. These aerators go on your faucets as long as they're a standard faucet like your bathroom faucets or your kitchen faucets. Some may be different. They do vary from brand and style, but this is your most common, and this actually has an internal thread and external thread. And the reason being is because it's trying to be a little bit universal. This gasket may or may not be necessary depending on the style of faucet you have. But if it is, when you pull your old one off, you definitely want to try and use as many gaskets as possible to make it fit. It may thread inside or, like I said, outside of it. They do get clogged up. So if you notice when you turn on your bathroom faucet, for instance, that it's not flowing the way it should. It's got some spurts or it's real powerful, and it's probably not right. It shouldn't be that way. You may have some debris built up in there. And a lot of times with older homes, if you have old galvanized piping, you'll definitely get lots of debris. You want to unscrew these. And these can be unscrewed by putting a simple pair of channel locks on them and turning them counterclockwise and threading them off. They come off no problem. You don't need to shut any water off to that as long as you're not running any water on the faucet. Just pop that right off, and you can see that little piece in there, and you'll be able to tell if it's dirty or not. And you can actually take these apart. So you can push everything out, and the whole thing will come apart. And from there, you can even clean out the component, which is this. And what this does is restrict flow. That way you don't have full pressure coming out of your faucet. This is letting out about 1.2 gallons per minute out of these. So it's pretty low. And it's separating the water and air, which creates that nice even flow out of your faucet. So that way you can wash your hands and all that and not get water everywhere and wet yourself. So we can put that together right here. All right, we're back together. And again, this is something good to check out. Not necessarily to prevent leaks or anything like that, but just so you get the proper flow out of your faucets and make sure that you're keeping up to date with all your cleaning fixtures. Do we have any questions on those? Anything that I can help you out with and maybe help identify?
Nothing in the chat. Oh, wait, we just had one come in. I've seen a leak on my sprinkler system valve. I'm not sure what it's called. Will a plumber repair that?
Yes. Some plumbing companies don't do any irrigation lines. Our company, for instance, we do offer irrigation services. The valve you're referring to, I'm assuming, it may be if you have separate systems and you kind of have a fixture, looks like maybe between 1 and 4 pipes come up and then go into some kind of device and come down. That device is called a solenoid valve. And that solenoid will regulate how much flow comes into the water. And as also connected to your sprinkler alarm system, which indicates when the water is necessary. So you obviously set that up for your timer, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Well, that calls for water. That solenoid will activate and allow water to flow through. Those solenoids can go bad. They can get debris in them just like these aerators do. When they get those debris, they start to lock up and they won't open and close correctly. And it has a little cap on top that purges water. Those will often purge more if that solenoid is clogged or filled with debris or doesn't get closed all the way. When the sprinkler shuts off, water will shoot out of there, which is creating a back pressure, siphonage. A lot of systems, if you notice in commercial buildings, have what's called a backflow device. That helps prevent that system. Most sprinklers systems don't have any backflow devices at their homes. We can also always install those or just replace the solenoid valves. Hopefully that answered your question. If you need help, again, contact us, and our company does provide irrigation services. Cool deal. Any other questions regarding leaks or identification?
I'm not seeing any now.
Cool deal. Well, hopefully that answered your question on your irrigation solenoid valve. Let's go back to our meter and our shutoff. We deal with this fairly often, where we have a customer calling in that they can't shut their water off. And always call your local service provider to come out in any emergency situation so that they can come and shut the water off on the meter side. But for some reason you can't, and you need to locate your customer side shutoff. You want to make sure, again, that it's exercised pretty regularly. So even this was a brand new one, and it was pretty tight right now to open and close. But now that I've done it several times, nice and smooth. And that goes along with exercising. So you want to come through, exercise your home valve, exercise all your angle stops in your home. Make sure they all shut off. If they don't, they need to be replaced. But carefully, along with exercising those, if they've been sitting too long, they'll go bad just from you trying to exercise them. And then you can have a problem. Say you shut it off all the way trying to exercise it because I came and said so. It might not open back up anymore. But again, that's a telltale sign that it needs to be replaced. So definitely a good thing. But maybe try not to exercise them until you're sure that you're ready to replace it if it needs to be replaced. Any questions on these? You got time for me? I'll make sure. Good. Okay, cool deal. Okay. Another telltale sign, and it's going to help with water leak detection, your showers. So if you have a constant drip in your shower coming from your tub spout, which is going to be your overflow, or if you have a stand-up shower with no tub spout, if you have constant water dripping from the top of the shower head or coming from the tub spout, which is just a drip, drip, or maybe even a little bit faster for some of you, you'll have, this is along the lines of the calcium buildup again, or any kind of debris getting stuck, where you turn your water on and off is going to be your shower cartridge. That shower cartridge will go bad over time by having that debris built up in there. So that debris, such as calcium, will actually start to corrode, get some kind of green on there a little bit, blue, discoloration. You want to make sure that you can change those out fairly often. They do go bad, and they are difficult to replace. They'll get stuck in there just from being corroded, the kind of fuse with the valve. And if you've got those constant drips, you have a leak in your home. That'll be costly. I know it doesn't sound much over time, but a drip over the next 10 years is pretty costly. So you want to make sure you take care of those. We can come in, we can replace them. We do have the tools necessary to help replace those. And sometimes they require a little bit of effort, and sometimes they require you to replace your whole shower valve, which can be a little bit invasive to the home when we cut open some walls and holes and things of that sort. But obviously, to try and avoid that as much as possible, you can stay up to date with them and replace those shower valves. So if you have that leak, it's a little bit difficult to identify if it's going to be a shower cartridge or maybe just the tub spout went bad. One way to tell is if you for sure have your water off and it still has a drip, your shower cartridge is most likely bad. But if you're unsure, your tub spout, when you turn your water on and you open up, you engage your shower head, if water's still coming out of the tub spout, your tub spout's also bad, which isn't necessarily detrimental to a water leak, but it's definitely unused water if you're taking a shower and water's coming out of the tub spout. So that's another thing you can try and take care of and help out with that and help out the environment. Let's see. Shower heads. Your shower heads also can build debris, and you may not get an optimal flow coming out of there. Now, in the state of California, anytime you buy a shower head, the flow is regulated. So if you have an older, more pressurized system, your shower head will blow really hard pressure out of it. If you replace it, you won't get that anymore. You'll get a regulated flow that'll flow through the shower head that will build up over time, just like these aerators will, and clog up. So you start noticing that you're taking a shower, water's coming through, and it's not the pressure you're looking for. You may have a buildup in there, and those are easily repaired. You can remove the shower head off the angle arm, which comes out of the wall, and inspect the inside, which would look similar to that. And same as the aerator, they can be taken apart and inspected for any debris and removed to help optimize your water pressure coming out of there, or simply replaced. We recommend the replacement just because it's going to help conserve water in the future. And again, when you thread your shower head back on, you want to make sure you throw on some Teflon tape. Along with identifying water leaks, I don't want to say it's rare, but it's definitely detrimental if you've ever come across a slab leak. Now, a slab leak is when you have a pipe under your home that's burst or has created a pinhole. Now, sometimes you may not notice these right away, but if you notice that your leak indicator is running and you've shut off everything in your home, you've checked your toilets, you've checked your faucets, you checked your showers, and you can't find where this leak's coming from, you may have a slab leak. And if you have a slab leak, it'll start to erode over time under the cement, under the foundation of your home. Or if you're in a mobile home, start to deteriorate that wood or create a large puddle, very messy. Well, a slab leak under the slab is very difficult to replace. Most oftentimes, we recommend a whole home water repipe. Now, the reason being is a slab leak can always be repaired, but it will never be done correctly. Anytime there's a fitting under the home, that line has been compromised. And once you have one slab leak, more are soon to follow. We always recommend a whole home repipe, and it'll help eliminate a lot of those corrosion problems that you have in your system. If you have old galvanized lines of that sort, we can always come in and evaluate the home and evaluate how many bathrooms and fixtures that are needed to be replaced. And we can always run what's called it's PEX piping. It's newer style. Most new homes that are being built with this PEX piping system. We use expansion fittings, and those expansion fittings are rated for 50 years, and they only get stronger over time. It's a little bit more cost effective than running copper throughout the home, and running a whole repipe is another thing we can do to help prevent corrosion in your system. Obviously, the PEX piping, which is plastic by nature, won't have any corrosion inside of it because there's nothing that's like metal to start to erode over time. The plastic does get brittle, but like I said, they're rated for 50 years and they only get stronger. If you do come across a slab leak and you start noticing water on your cement or maybe a wet spot in the carpet, wet spot on the drywall, you should contact a professional immediately. They could end up creating something of the likes of a sinkhole, maybe even destroying some parts of the house, and insurances don't typically cover plumbing on those. So identifying slab leaks would be the most optimal thing you can do for your home. I would recommend for everybody to check out their leak indicators and find out immediately if maybe they have a leak. Hopefully it's not under the slab. It could be easily accessible. A good indicator too is if you have an open field. If you notice green spots growing, lots of weeds and things like that, they typically need water to grow. And if everything else is dead around it and you've got one green spot, you probably got a water leak there. And it'd be really wise to walk over and see if you can find any wet spots there. And if you do, we can always dig it up, or you could try it yourself. But once it gets exposed and you start getting into the mud, probably wise to call a professional. Do we have any questions about slab leaks?
Nope, nothing in the chat box.
That's good. I've dealt with slab leaks. I did one earlier today, actually, and they're not fun for anybody. They're pretty difficult to access, and normally they take a lot of invasive measures into the home, such as cutting out carpet, tile, wood floors, paneling, and lots of jackhammering involved, and it's pretty destructive. Finding out, I saw we had maybe a question there.
Yes, you do have a question. Are pinhole leaks as bad as a slab leak?
Well, a pinhole could be part of the reason why you have a slab leak. So a pinhole could be anywhere. You may have piping, in the walls that come up to your showers and go to your fixtures. And from there, your piping comes out and goes into the slab. So maybe easier if I start from the beginning, which is going to be the water meter for your home, as far as your home state goes. So from the water meter, you're going to have access. A water line is going to go straight into the first hose bib in front of your house. From there, you may not have a hose bib. It may go into the home. It may have been eliminated over time. Typically, they go to the first hose bib. Before that, right after that hose bib, you should have your pressure regulator and shutoff valve. You always want one hose bib that has full pressure in case of any kind of a fire emergency or anything like that. You want to be able to try and help your home as much as possible. So we leave one that's full pressure. Right after that, you should come across your pressure regulator and water shutoff valve. After that, you'll have two lines, one that goes to the water heater and one that goes straight into the home and branches off into smaller lines that go to every fixture in the home. The one that goes to the water heater will obviously heat the water and then split off the smaller branches that go to every fixture in the home. So that's how you get your separation from hot water and cold water. Any of those lines can get a pinhole leak. And any of those lines can create damage by obviously leaking. Only the ones that are under the foundation are considered slab leaks. Anything else above is going to be just a regular leak. The reason why we call them slab leaks is because they're under the foundation, which is the slab of cement that you have. Answer the question? Sorry about that. I can kind of see when the questions come in, but I can't read them.
No worries. There was no follow-up to that, so, oh. And the next one is a comment, not a question, so okay. We're good to move on. Oh, there is a follow-up question. Yes, do they weaken the system?
Yes, definitely. So like I've previously stated, once you have a water leak or a pinhole leak, as long as it wasn't created by something that somebody did on purpose or maybe an accidental, so like say you're hanging a picture frame up at the wall and you weren't sure where your piping systems were and you put a nail right through that pipe, you know, you're going to have a pinhole leak. And we can come out and take care of it. And I don't see any future problems coming from that as long as it gets resolved fairly quickly. But if a natural occurrence of a pinhole comes or crack in your water lines, it will definitely weaken the system. And it's a good telltale sign that your system's already weak. That's why that happened. So that being said, once that gets repaired, you will forever have a compromised system. And that's why we recommend a whole house repipe. It's not typically necessary as long as you don't have any problems now, but you do want to keep up to it. As the older the home gets, the more likely you're going to have a leak in the home. Pipings don't last forever, especially older homes that have the old galvanized lines or even copper lines under the ground. If they're not covered or they weren't installed correctly from the beginning, any type of corrosion starts to happen from like metals. Every thing that's buried in the ground is touching some kind of mineral, and that mineral will start to corrode the metal over time. That's just naturally occurring. Nowadays, we take heed with that. If we're burying copper, it's getting wrapped in plastic, and that's just to help prevent any mineral corrosion attached to that pipe. Along with PEX piping, that's all overhead. So we're eliminating any type of underground piping when we come in and repipe the home. We're coming in and all the PEX is going to be hidden behind walls, overhead, in the attic space. If you have a 2-story home, it's going to be in the subfloor. And that's going to help. Obviously, it's going to be a lot easier to replace drywall than it is going to replace a slab and replacing tile and jackhammering of floors. I'd much rather have a leak in my ceiling than a leak under my house. That being said, when it's a lot harder to create those pinholes, and when you know where your piping is, it's a lot easier to avoid them when hanging fixtures or doing any remodeling to your home. I noticed something else popped up. I wasn't sure if that was a question or not.
No, it was a thank you.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, along with that, we do offer financing services for PEX and repiping to the home. It can be costly. It's always recommended just because it's going to be safer and obviously instill comfort for the longevity of the home. You'll notice all your fixtures will run better. All of your piping will be secure, and it should eliminate a lot of the rattling that you may or may not hear in your home. Let's see. You may have some leakage under your sink for your pipe draining systems. And along with the kit that you receive from the kits that we built, along with those gaskets, like I was talking about, those trap rings, they're going to be coned shaped. And what those will do on the lock nuts underneath your trap in your sink, if you notice, you'll have kind of like a U shape that goes on there. It's called a trap. And what that does is help prevent sewer gases from coming back up into the drain and making your home stink. So when you fill your water up, there's always water constantly sitting in that U shape that goes into the drain. You can get leaks from there. They're not constantly running leaks, obviously, because they're going to be drainage systems. But your kit did come with small repair washers for those. So if you do notice any kind of dripping when you open up under your kitchen sink or even your bathroom sinks, you want to be able to replace those. Fairly easy to replace. All you got to do is loosen up those nuts and pull that component out, slide your cone shape with the cone facing downward, reinstall, and hand tighten those lock nuts. And that should help you eliminate those under the sink leaks that you may have. Along with those trap systems goes, a lot of them that I see that are customer installed are not installed correctly. There is a proper way to install those. They need to be installed with a drainage pitch that is actually a 1/4 inch per foot, which is what helps the slope of the water drain correctly downward. Obviously, you can't drain water uphill. So if they're installed incorrectly, you won't have your water draining down. You'll end up with clogged drains, and it could be detrimental to the home, and you'll start to back up pretty much everywhere and create massive problems. So you want to call a professional and make sure that they can come in and install it with the correct pitch, which again is 1/4 inch per foot. Another thing that I just thought about that I may have missed about the meters, when you're noticing that those meter faces are spinning, this goes along with the billing. Billing may be different with everywhere, but every time that meter fills around is actually a cubic foot of water. That cubic foot of water in water measurement is going to be 7.48 gallons of water. Every time that meter spins one time is 7.48 gallons. So if you have a water leak you'll notice if that water meter is moving all the way around and makes one cycle, 7.48 gallons has just been wasted somewhere in the home, which is pretty significant, I'd say, especially if you have a water leak that's going on months, couple months, even a year at a time. 7.48 gallons every time that water meter moves around one cycle is pretty extensive. If you want to make that test and test it out, you could always fill up a gallon of water outside of your home with a garden hose and test that meter and find out exactly how much goes through. But one cycle should be 7.48 gallons, which again is a cubic foot of water. Any questions on that?
Nope, I don't see anything.
Awesome. Well, I think we've gone over everything in our kit that we have today. I hope I didn't miss anything. I have most of the stuff right here. Your fill valve will not come in that kit, but your toilet flapper will, which is going to be this right here. The fill valve is going to be a little bit more extensive and is a little bit more complicated. If you do need assistance replacing those, please contact a professional. The toilet flapper has these two little rubber rings and can connect right onto your old fill valve, and super simple to replace. These can be done yourself at home. The most important thing is going to be to make sure that your chain isn't hanging too loose, because you don't want that to get caught under there when it closes. But you can always adjust that to whatever length you need. It's not stainless steel or anything like that. Super easy to cut, super easy to break apart and adjust from your flush handle. I'm going to go ahead and pass this back over to you guys, and we can find out who the winners are. They're going to explain wherever you can pick up your kits from. I want to thank you guys very much for joining us today. And again, my name is Jacob. I'm the owner of Mother Flushers Plumbing. Please give us a call if you have any problems. Our website is motherflushersplumbing.com. You can also reach us at motherflushers@yahoo.com. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram under the same name, Mother Flushers. And like I said, please give us a call. Thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for the opportunity. If you have any further questions or think about anything down the line, please give us a call or reach out to us on any of our social media platforms. We'd be happy to help. We're open 24/7 and provide any service for plumbing. We do not provide septic services currently, but we're open. Thank you.
Jacob, I do have one question for you here, and it looks like it was sent to me directly. Can I use sealant instead of Teflon tape on water hose to attach a nozzle?
Yes, so you can use, which is pipe dope or any type. There's several companies that provide sealant. You can use it. We do recommend you use the white variation. Anything yellow is going to be for gas. If you're going to be using threaded hose bib material or anything like that for your outside environments, I do recommend using both. So you can actually use Teflon tape and then put a little bit of the pipe dope on the outside just to create a double variant for the sealant. You can use one or the other. If you do notice that you're having a little bit of issues, I do recommend using both. There is a big debate on which comes first, dope and then tape, or tape and then dope. It probably doesn't matter, but personally I use tape and then dope.
Okay. I don't have any more questions, but you have several thank yous in the chat box. So very much appreciated. Very
Awesome.
Good information. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to drop those in the chat box. We have Jacob for a few more minutes here, so we can certainly ask him those questions you may have. And as he mentioned, we'll leave you with all of his contact information as well, so that before we sign off this evening, you can reach out to him if you do think of a question later or need Jacob's professional services for anything. But before we get to the opportunity drawing, I did just want to mention a couple of things about the programs that Monte Vista does offer. Since we are all here talking about leaks tonight, it's very evident that everyone is concerned about having a leak in their home and being able to identify those leaks before they occur. So I did want to mention that Monte Vista does offer a new program, which is a flume leak detection device. It is very easy to attach to your meter. But it is currently offered to Monte Vista customers at a very deeply discounted price. It is something that you purchase yourself and put on yourself, so that it measures flow. I shouldn't say measures, it monitors, if you will, the flow through your meter. And if it sees an excessive use outside of your normal water use behavior, you're alerted through an application on your mobile device. So it connects with your smartphone. You're able to see what your real-time water use looks like. And then if you have an excessive use, potentially a leak, is what it's suspecting, is that it would send you an indication, so that you don't have a leak that goes undetected for quite some time. Because as Jacob mentioned, you can lose a lot of water very, very quickly, and it can become very costly. So we would encourage you to check out Flume, and I do have a quick image here to share, if I can just show that. And I probably should have done that before I started talking, so I apologize. Again, new to this virtual environment here. All right, so there's a little blurb about Flume and how you can purchase it, or if you just have a question about it, give us a call and we can help answer any questions or direct you to how to purchase that device. I did see that someone did put in the chat box that they have one and it's working great, so we are happy to hear that. We love to hear feedback, good or bad, if a program's working or not working for you, so we do appreciate you participating in that particular program. As I mentioned, Monte Vista always wants to help out our customers, so we do offer a variety of programs. I know we had a couple questions this evening about some irrigation issues or leaks. We have a variety of programs for our irrigation use, if you will. Maricela, as I mentioned in the beginning here, is our water use efficiency analyst, and she helps manage those programs as well as the participation in those programs. And one of the programs that we do offer is called an irrigation tune-up program, and it does some minor repairs, or it covers some minor repairs, like a leaking valve or faulty wiring, broken sprinklers, just very basic, very minimal, but that is a program that we do offer free of service or free of charge to Monte Vista customers. So if you think you might have an issue with your irrigation system, you're welcome to try that program first. As I mentioned, it doesn't cover everything, so we will help you out as much as we can, but sometimes we do recommend that you do seek professional services if it is something outside of the program's parameters. So variety of programs that we offer, it's all found on our website, so I won't bore you with the details there, but I do want to turn it over to Gabby. She's going to do our opportunity drawing. But before I do that, I think we had a couple of last minute folks join us. So if you are a Monte Vista customer and you recently joined us and didn't provide your contact information, please drop your name and phone number and email into the chat directly to Gabby. You don't have to share it with everyone. And we're going to enter your name on our spinning wheel here, and we'll do our opportunity drawing. Any last minute takers?
Hi, everyone. If you don't see your name on the, can everyone see the wheel?
Yeah.
Okay, great. If you don't see your name on there, I did not receive your information. So if you want to be entered to the drawing for the free high efficiency toilet, please, we'll give you a couple of minutes. Please share your information so that we can include you in that. I'll give you guys about a minute.
And while we are giving away a water efficient toilet this evening, we did also want to mention, if you do not win, we do offer rebates for more efficient toilets. If you're interested in purchasing one, you can get a significant amount of that money back via our rebate program. So not to fear, we still have programs to help if you're not chosen for the site for tonight's opportunity drawing, but we do have one water use efficiency toilet to give away.
Okay.
And I think
name. So just give me 1 second so I can enter them.
Great. And I appreciate everyone's patience as we work through this unique environment here. As I mentioned, we would love to be face to face with you guys and actually doing a full raffle ticket drawing out of the hat, but we will.
Hold on. That was not supposed to happen. I have to add a couple names. Close. Okay.
Was that a premature spin?
Yeah, I apologize. It was set to go, and when I clicked the box to add the information, it considered it a spin. Mhm. And Kelly, by chance, did you see what name it spun? I want to make sure I didn't miss anybody.
What it landed on?
Yeah.
I believe
I have, it's okay. I have everything written down. I just want to make sure because it probably removed that person.
no, it didn't. I
Oh,
believe
it did?
it landed on Jimmy Jimenez. When you do
Okay.
the practice spin, we'll call it the practice spin.
Okay. I think that is everyone. Okay. Here we go.
Oh.
Nancy Reyes, congratulations. I will be in touch with you so that we can go ahead and coordinate that installation and removal of your old toilet. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing here. And I just want to let you know I will be sending an email out this evening with a survey. If you can just take, it's going to take about 2 minutes. If you can fill that out and provide us some feedback, we really appreciate that. This is our first time doing a virtual workshop, and we want to know how it went and if you want to see more of these in the near future. So your feedback is very much appreciated. Also, if you have not picked up your leak detection kit, which includes a lot of the items that Jacob covered this evening, please coordinate with me, give me a call. Kelly, if you want to go ahead and share your screen with the contact information, you can call me, you can email me. I'm happy to walk out to the front office gate and hand that over to you. The kit is valued at $22, so take advantage of that and make sure you come pick that up from me sometime in the near future. So if you do have a leak, you have the tools that you need in order to fix those. And with that, we want to thank you again for participating. We're glad you joined us. We're thankful that you are interested in saving water, and we look forward to seeing you at our future workshops. And if anybody has any questions, we're going to stick around for just a couple of minutes and leave the screen up so that you can jot down that information. Thank you again and have a good night.
It's so quiet.
Yeah, well, I have the water efficient toilet, but it doesn't have the kits that Jacob had talked about. You know, it has that, you know, when you fill out the water like a basin, and then when you flash and it I mean, it just fill over. I mean, you know, it fills up the bowl. And when you flush, the water just, you know, pour into the tank and then flush into the toilet.
Okay.
None of those kits.
Gotcha. So it fills up a smaller tray, and then when
Right,
you flip,
yeah.
it dumps the tray into the tank.
And that's right. Dumps the water, yeah, from the tray. Yeah.
Okay, I know exactly what you have. That's a different style toilet. Those cannot be retrofitted with any of the components we've talked
Right.
about.
Yeah.
Those style toilets are actually a one-off. They were introduced. They were a Home Depot exclusive at one point in time, and I've dealt with those toilets previously. When you get problems with those toilets, they're actually really hard to get parts for any kind of repairs or replacements on them. Mm-hmm. We always recommend if something does happen with that toilet that it does need to be replaced. Just because they don't sell in store anywhere, the replacement parts, they have to be special ordered for them.
Okay, because I had that problem one time that it overfills, the tray was overfilled with water and just couldn't stop the water. I had to turn off the water.